not to stand freaking lazy. You understand?
Yes, petty officer.
Then don't stand like that. I shouldn't be repeating myself when I already trained.
Some people really.
So one thing I kind of want to mention here, yeah, he's getting in on him, but this is still pretty watered down. You gotta understand this is recorded. This is more so designed as like a recruiting method. This video series. So they're probably told, hey, don't curse, hey, don't go too hard, kind of a thing, at least in front of the camera. So if you're a recruit, you will get cursed at. You will not be called cursed names. You will not be disrespected, but you will be cursed at. And as an RC, yes, you can curse. So this is a little watered down. That guy's pretty intense. At the time, actually, he was a C school instructor when I went through, and he, taught me how to be an RDC. Really, really good stand-up guy, great leader, great teacher, and but he's also a great RDC, and he's definitely pushed out some really good recruits that turned out to be really great sailors. And he goes hard. He doesn't relax. He doesn't let the recruits relax, which and then turns out to, better rounded sailor at the end. But yeah, just a heads up on that.
Have a negative effect to that, and they don't like being talked to like that. And then some of them understand the process and understand that that's us being on them 100% all the time is what's going to make them a better sailor in the end.
So, like he said there, you're gonna get yelled at as a recruit. It's happens. It's the ability to work under pressure. I said in the previous video, if you take a simple task like just standing in line and sounding off a number or folding a shirt a very specific way, and then I give you a time limit to do it, I tell you to do it a very specific way, and I'm yelling at you while you do it. If you can handle that pressure here, it just conditions your mind to be able to handle the pressure out in the fleet when you'll be dealing with actual real danger, kind of a thing. But yeah, never take it personal. It's never an attack. It is, if they ever attack, it's going to be attacking of your character, but not of your person. If you continuously act lazy and continue to just not follow instructions and stand out, then you're, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. You signed up. Just try to do your best. It's going to be rough at first. You may have some people have a hard time, but if you focus and try, the RDCs will notice that and they'll work with you. But definitely in the beginning, lots of yelling. As an RDC, I definitely lost my voice a lot just from Pdays alone. And also because, you get sick because you're coming into contact with people from around the world.
I don't, everything they do, I don't take it personal because I realize they are training me to be a sailor.
It's a lot of tough love. And it's like, I know that they want us to succeed again. I know that they want us to do well. They've all been through this themselves. They have gone through a lot of training themselves to be RDCs. So trying to just remember that and give them that equal amount of respect really helps me get through it.
So what she said is actually really good. It's about mutual respect. As an RDC, make sure you are respectful recruits. Yes, you're going to be yelling at them and you're going to be asking a lot of them, but don't be disrespectful. Just because you're yelling at someone doesn't mean you're being disrespectful. So as a recruit, respect them back. They're there to train you. They're there to condition you. They're there to make sure you signed up because you want to be in the Navy. This is the process you have to go through to do the basics. And they're going to make sure you understand military bearing is one of them. And that's what they get to do when they get in your face and get that pressure. It's conditioning you. It's good. If that's something that you feel like you can't handle, you might want to think again, but they're definitely going to get on you. So as a recruit, understand when they're yelling at you, it's because they're trying to get you to do something. And as an RDC, remember that's still a human being over there, so don't be calling him names. And then they train you this as well. Hey, recruit, hey, RPOC, or say their name, Wells or something, whatever their name is. But once again, cursed at, not being called curse words.
55, 56, 57, 58, 59.
Then why are you here? You're 230. Get across the freaking hall.
So that's pretty funny. That actually happens a lot in the beginning when you have integrated divisions where you actually do integrate instead of just having an all female, all male, or just if you have, if your brother div's all male and you're all male, you're not going to integrate really. You might integrate for fun, like you might do PT together kind of a thing, just as a morale thing, just to mix it up because PT can get boring every once in a while. Maybe you could play music sometimes too. But yeah, it does happen in the beginning. Make sure you're paying attention as a recruit where you're supposed to be. And then as an RDC, make sure you're double checking because you might steal your brother div's recruit. And I've actually had recruits come in from a division that was nowhere near me. It was, what are you doing here? It was wild. So you just got to double check. But yeah, that'll happen a little more than you think. It's funny, but you can't laugh at the moment.
And so that's why we create a stressful environment. That's why we keep the temp up.
So right there, you're seeing in his. You probably couldn't hear it while he was doing the talkover part, but he is firing that dude right there. As an RDC, I have fired 5 RPOCs before I even made it to P3 day. It's just one of those things. Like, you're gonna notice some recruits will act a certain way, and some of them are built for the job, and some of them you think are built for the job, and you just kind of help them get there. It's up to you how much you want to deal with, but you do having a good recruit leadership will make or break your division as well. Uh, Sometimes you have infighting and whatnot, but there's going to be times where, like I said, you're just going to be firing people. Later on, you don't fire as much because you spend a lot of time training them to do the specific job you want them to do. And of course, you're always going to go behind them to make sure they did it right, because if they fail to do it, that's your failure as an RDC to properly train them. But yeah, it's funny. You just fire people all the time in Pdays. I've fired one in less than like 5 seconds. I was like, "You're hired. Do this," and they didn't do exactly. I was like, "All right, say these words: last recruit, sound off last recruit," and they didn't say that. And I was like, "All right, you're fired. Next person." So it happens. It's how much you're willing to deal with and how much you're willing to train them before you decide whether or not you want to keep them, or if you just keep them all the way from the beginning, kind of a thing, as that same. And then also you might hire someone in your recruit staff that is then ASMO'd because of medical, or because they didn't pass their PFA, or they didn't pass an evolution, so they get ASMO'd. Well, you gotta rehire someone else and train them up. So try to do your best to pick the ones that you think you will work off from the beginning and stay with the whole time. P5 day with the initial baseline, it has changed a lot. It's changed since I went through bootcamp. It's changed while I was an RDC through like 3 or 4 times, I believe. So I would recommend going to mynavyhr.com or CNRC, or just calling out to a recruiter and figuring out what the new baseline standards were. When I left, the baseline standards were like 16 minutes or so for male and 18 minutes or so for female for a mile and a half, regardless of push-ups or planks. And if you failed that, then you were sent back to a division specifically for just to rerun. And at that point, you do the pacer test. Now, the pacer test is where you run back and forth like a relay. And every time you run, you have a certain amount of time and you hear a beeping noise. And then if you cross the line before it beeps, you're good. And you go back to the other line, and then you just keep doing it. And every time the beep gets shorter and shorter, and you have to do so many times. I don't know if they're doing that now. And I'm hesitant to put the information up on the screen here, just because it could change so often. So it's just best to go to either mynavyhr.com, googlenavy.com, or militaryonesource.com, or cnrc.com. Those are all websites that will keep you up to date. My Navy HR is open to everyone and has even like instructions and everything if you're curious about what you can or can't do even before you're in the military. And I still use it today to look up instructions. But just keep that in mind. Baseline will send you back, and you will not be with that division. If you continue to fail the fitness, then you will be sent home. So basics I would say prepare for this is just go start. You don't need to get a gym membership. Just if you got running shoes, just start running and get in shape and check yourself. Just make sure you can meet those standards.
We were all really stressed about who was going to pass and who wasn't going to pass.
Let's go, Jones. Let's go. Get up there. Come on. Don't think about it. Let's go. Come on. 5 more. 5 more. Give me 5 more.
So this is really good. I really like that they show this part. As an RDC, you're going to wear multiple hats. You're going to be the one that gets in their 2-pack and yells at them and, calls them out if they make mistakes. And you're going to be the one that trains them. And you're going to see your face every day from sunrise to sunset. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be like that all the time. There are times that you're going to have to change that hat, and you're going to just have to be a motivator. And that's what we call each other, is just motivators, motivated to train. And we motivate the recruits. We train them, we motivate them. So when they're doing PFA, and they're not allowed to talk to each other. So you might have to be the one that goes out there, and they could be that person that's just trying to change their life. And they're just struggling on push-ups, sit-ups, or a run, or planks. So you just go out there, you're like, come on, one more. Get out there. Just like, you want them to succeed. You're not there to be like, oh man, I hope you fail. That's terrible. You're there because you're training your possible relief. You're there because they're there because they're trying to either turn their life around, or they always wanted to join the Navy. Whatever the situation is, they're not there to fail. They want to succeed too. So you might have to go out there. And so I always PT with recruits. You'll see in this video, they're running the PFA with them. I love doing PT with recruits. That was always the thing. With my partners, I said, just please never do PT without me. I love doing PT with recruits. It's good. It's motivating. It's good for morale.
PFA, I knew I was ready. I was ready for it before coming to boot camp, but the day before I got really, really sick. Still, I felt sick during the PFA, but I just pushed because I didn't want to get separated
So he says here, and like I mentioned before, he said he got sick, and that's the thing. Like I said, you're now going to be in close contact with a lot of people from around the world, and like I said, everyone has germs. You got germs, I got germs, but we're immune to them, and so you're getting in contact with people who carry germs that you've never been in contact with. So you might get some sort of like head cold, or you might start coughing up phlegm, and of course that will affect your physical ability. If you're extremely in shape, won't affect enough that you fail, but you're still it's something to keep in mind as a recruit. It's going to happen. You're going to get sick, or maybe not, but most likely you are. And as an RDC, definitely the first few pushes that you have in the beginning, it's a possibility you're going to get sick as well. We call it the recruit crud. It happens. You usually just end up coughing up a lot of phlegm as your body is fighting off its new diseases.
And so that PFA baseline is just that, it's the baseline. It's not even the actual PFA standard. And if they can't meet the baseline, then they probably need to go find something else to do.
So Chief makes a great point here. The baseline was set to, it's not at the standard of which they need to pass, which you should be aiming for before you come into the Navy. And of course, while you're in the Navy, you need to meet the standard or you're going to get kicked out. But he's talking about there's a baseline where the standards are relaxed a little bit. It's not a real PFA, but if you can meet these slightly relaxed standards while we're doing all this PT in boot camp, you will then eventually meet the standard within boot camp itself. I had many people who barely passed the baseline, and at the end they got a good high, just because the amount of PT we do at boot camp, it gets you in shape. It might be a new lifestyle for a lot of people, and going to the gym isn't really exactly a lifestyle for everyone. But you'll find that when they do the PT right and you motivate them, make sure they get to it, and if they meet the baseline and they put 100% into the PT, they'll make it. And so as a recruit, telling you, do your best to try you can get in shape, and then while you're there, if you don't score as well as you think you did but you pass the baseline, pay attention in PT and give it 100%. Run, do all the workouts they tell you to do, and you'll be fine. So it says here they had 229 had 10 failures and 230 had 18 failures. That's pretty light. It's pretty average. I've had ones with 0 failures, which is almost unheard of, and then I've had ones where I had like 30 failures. But just keep that in mind as an RDC. That means paperwork. That means you're going to have to deliver them to another division and get them checked in, and you're going to have to change your roster. You're going to have to change your watch bill. You're going to do a lot of paperwork for that. And also during that time is when you do the exchange. So the division they go to, like I said, they're going to go and do the pacer test or whatever they do during the time to get them so that they're like, okay, cool. Now they passed this one. So yes, we're going to let them continue training, and then hopefully they get in shape or not. And then if you don't get in shape by the end, you're sent back in training. So you're going to have to redo all that training. But the point is you get more PT, depending on how badly you fail. If you fail just by a second, they'll let you rerun again the next day usually. But not always. But so don't bank on that. Make sure you just take the time to be in shape. But as RDCs, that means that you're going to be processing these people and have to ASMO them, a lot of paperwork, admin paperwork to get them to where they need to be. And then usually around the time after you do your baseline, that's when you get the ones that went to that division and passed, then you get in. So it's an exchange of recruits. So Pdays, very busy as an RDC. Very busy as a recruit. You're going to be very tired. As an RDC, you can be very tired as well because you're just setting up all the paperwork and everything like that. So just keep in mind, try to work it out with your partners to be 100% all the time and cover down for each other.
I don't give a crap if you're tired, if you think the sea bag's too heavy. You came here to serve, so own up and do it.
So right here, this is actually Freedom Hall. This is our main gym. This is where they ran their PFA or the baseline PFA. This is them forming up into columns of 3 or to mass formation, but at this point they're probably just forming in columns of 3 because they haven't been taught mass formation. A lot of drill stuff. And whenever you're carrying all your stuff like this is usually when you march at ease. So you're still in columns of 3, but you're not in step. There's no cadence. And definitely early on, they're just not even staying in columns of 3. They'll just kind of be like spread out like a snake. It's infuriating as an RDC. But in time, take time to train them, drill. They end up getting into it and wanting to look good. And you'll see that throughout this video as well, where they're going to be bad and then they're going to be doing training. And then you see them at the end when they graduate and they look so sharp. And it's so rewarding as a recruit to graduate. But as an RDC, when you see them make that left turn in their dress uniform and they're all in step, it just feels it's very... rewarding. It just feels good to see your effort put into them and see them graduate, and you know that you were part of that process.
They're going to be expected to pass their swim qualification. They're going to be expected to march as a unit.
So you saw there when they were walking with the guidon. Here, I'll skip back a little bit. You see here the guidon is wrapped up. It's because the division hasn't been commissioned yet. So that happens on usually one day of training. Sometimes it'll happen on P5 after the PFA, but it's because they haven't been commissioned yet. So they haven't started their official day of training. They're just doing processing days. So when they get commissioned, then it's a ceremony, a little mini ceremony they do with the ship's officer and LCPO, where they unfurl it, and the ship's officer and LCPO set the standards and expectations as well. And training begins, kind of thing. And now when it's unfurled, everyone will know what division you are, and they'll know that you're ready to be graded as well by FQA.
So in Pdays, we are loud and we are aggressive with them, but we are instructors at first. We're teaching them everything, and we take our time, because come week 1, then we don't have time to train every little thing over and over again. They need to learn it. So when we're telling them at first they need to pick stuff up and this is how it has to be done, come week 1, we expect that to happen. So when they start failing during week 1, then they're actually held accountable for their actions.
So he makes a great point. You're instructor first, and it's really annoying to have to retrain things over and over and over again. It's important. Also, one thing I want to talk about, the compartment that they're in. They're probably in it for the first time now. This is the compartment they're going to be pushing out of. The recruits are going to go through their boot camp through. So as an RDC, you usually get with your partners ahead of time because you know what compartment you're going to be in. You take the time to do a little cleaning, make sure the racks are set up properly, they're aligned. There's a very specific way the racks get lined up and everything. The tables, they're measured out and everything. You'll learn this as a recruit because I like to assign like table POs and rack POs, and they were the ones that, because they move around even though the brakes are on the wheels, they still move a little bit as they get in and out of the racks. So just make sure the compartment's always on point. You usually just have them go around every once in a while before you leave the compartment. You double check everything's lined up. You sit at a table and make sure it's reset, stuff like that. So you're just keep that in mind as an RC. You're going to want to spend that time, get together with your partners before a push and set up a game plan, how you want things to go, and just make sure the compartment's set up and you have all the supplies that you need, because people like to go to empty compartments and steal tables and chairs that they need to set up their compartment. So make sure it's good.
Anything that you were before you came here, you wave goodbye to that. That's gone. Because as long as people in this world want to take your life because of where you live, because of where you breathe, you must be ready. And if you're not ready, we don't need you.
So I'm going to end it on that. That's a great speech from Chief Seagal. If you're ready to be a recruit and you come in and you're not willing to give up your past, not in the sense of like who you are, but understand that you're joining a team now. You're part of one group, and you're going to have to look up to the person next to you, regardless of their gender, their race, their religion, their sexual orientation. It doesn't matter, because if you're knocked out unconscious in a fire on a ship, you're going to hope that person next to you picks you up and doesn't think, oh, okay, they're not what I am or whatever the situation is. And it's true. It's just how it is in the world, especially now we're getting closer and closer to a war every day, it seems like. If you join the military, there is a possibility you're going to go to war. So, and the best thing you can have next to you is a shipmate that's going to watch your back no matter what, and hopefully you will be doing the same. So I'm going to end it on that powerful speech by Chief Seagal. If you have any questions, leave in the comment below, and I think I'm going to go ahead and continue this series. Hoo-yah, Navy.